All right, good evening. It's time to get started here. I now call the December 6th, 2022 regular meeting of the City Council to order. Tonight's invocation is given by our Erlanger Police Chaplain, Brian Nevins. Thank you.
Would you please join me in prayer? Our Lord and God, we come to you with all prayer and supplication with thanksgiving and the promise that you give peace that passes understanding with the mind of Christ. Thank you for your great provision, for a great place to live, for this privilege of gathering in self-government, recognizing the responsibilities and freedoms it carries. We ask that our city officials would be protective of our rights and take their responsibilities to the residents of our friendship city with the gravity and wisdom they need and deserve without personal agendas or pursuits. We also bring before you the coming, the coming holidays, and that you would bless us during this time. In your word, you promise that if any need wisdom, to simply ask, and you will give it generously. Therefore, we pray for Mayor Fetty, for our city manager, Mr. Wolfick, Chiefs Radar and Godsey, and for this assembled council. Hold them to a high standard of integrity, especially since you will judge them for every action. We thank you for their service and are asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom and insight for the needs of our citizens and a single mission in their pursuits to meet them. We ask for your blessing upon them and their families. Grant them personal peace in their lives and joy in their task. We pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Erlanger. And we ask all these things in the name of our blessed Savior, Jesus. Amen.
Brian, I want to thank you for sharing your time with us and helping us get centered and focus on what we're here to do. Thank you. All right, if you can rise for the pledge, please. Ms. Hoffman, if you can please take roll.
Ms. Elmore? Present. Mr. Cahill?
Present.
Ms. Kyle? Mr. Skidmore?
Here.
Mr. Hermes?
Here.
Mr. Doan?
Present.
Mr. Meyer?
Present.
Ms. Skidmore? Here. Ms. Nicely?
Present.
Mr. Nipper? Ms. Reckers?
Here.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Here. Thank you. Okay, you've received a copy of the minutes for the November 1st, 2022 regular meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to be made at this time? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt as presented. Ms. Reckers, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. You have also received a copy of tonight's agenda. Are there any additions to be made at this time? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt as presented. Ms. Reckers, Ms. Elmore, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Are we tabling the one?
Motion carried.
Are we tabling the resolution?
All right. First on our agenda for this evening is our special presentation, our business spotlight. We have Bob Swimford and his beautiful daughter here this evening. If you guys want to come to the podium, the microphone is already on.
Hey, good evening. Good
Welcome.
to see everybody. I know a few faces around here. Love being a Erlanger business. Little interesting history. My grandfather started the business in 1927, and he started in Erlanger. He was a watchmaker and set up shop somewhere along Dixie Highway near the community bank, and had a nice business. I guess in the early 30s, the Depression kind of hit. Business was very slow. Being a watchmaker, he moved the business to Covington. At the time, railroad men, streetcar guys. They had to have a watch, so that's where the business was kind of centered. So he ran the business. My father was in World War II, was an instrument tech on a destroyer, and came back, and he had a pretty good offer from GE. My grandfather said, well, why don't you help me at the watch shop till I find somebody else for a year? So 30 years later, he was ready to retire from the watch shop. So about 1980, we had a local jeweler, Bob Milner, out here, was a friend of mine, and I don't know if anybody remembers Bob, but he was a big talker, but nice guy. He decided to retire. He didn't really want to sell his business, but we thought, well, that's kind of an opening for a jeweler out here. So we opened a shop up at pretty much Dixie and Commonwealth, and probably the early 80s. Ran 2 locations for about 3 years. And my dad was getting a little bit older, and he says, well, I have a brother in the business. He said, well, boys, I'm headed to Florida for the winter. I hope you can work out the staffing. So we had a nice business in both stores. So we liked Erlanger better. Who wouldn't? It's a great place, right? So we kind of came out here. That was probably the mid 80s, and been around Dixie and Commonwealth ever since. Got a nice family store. We do a lot of repairs, and I had a lady come in the other day. She had her Christmas cane tree. It was kind of a little wiry thing. The top was broken off, and she had tried to hot glue it. And she said, solder this for me, solder it. I'm like, I don't, that's really a little out of my line. Anyway, fast forward, she said, oh, I've had it. I'm like, all right, leave it with me. Went back and filed on it and got it soldered for us. You know, try to help out when we can. I had a customer, kind of sticks in my mind. She was from Waco, Texas, and she came in with a little charm bracelet, and she needed some charms put on. She's like, I've been all over to the mall, and they want to send it to Atlanta for 3 weeks and charge me $50. Can you just put a couple charms on? I'm like, sure. Did you want to wait? She goes, oh, real jewelry store. I'm so like back in town. So that's what we try to be. Trying to be a good, family store. And hey, I don't mind selling a diamond once in a while either. So, but we've been very blessed, and the local people have supported us nicely, and we have a nice little business, and hope my daughter Chelsea, who is a 4th generation person, she's interested in the business, so hopefully we can carry on, and I could go to Florida for the winter. But anyway, that's kind of what we're doing up there. And any questions? Anybody got any broken candy cane tree stands they need repaired? Or anyway, thanks for having me up here. Saw a few friends in the crowd, and Mr. Tyson there. We kind of go back a little bit, so it was a nice opportunity to see folks. I'll probably be at every meeting now. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Mayor, do you mind? I just wanted to make a comment. I know, I don't think you mentioned one item, but one of the things that they do work on, and they did work on for us, was we had an antique West Germany cuckoo clock. That's been, yep. So you repaired and restored that back in working condition for us. And I had a wedding ring, which I'm not wearing right now, that was smashed in a martial arts accident, I'll say. And was able to repair that back to wearable condition, but it's kind of weak right now, so I leave it at home. Thank you.
I think what's really special is I bet most of the people sitting in this room have some kind of special memory from Swinford, or some kind of jewelry on that is from Swinford. So my wedding band and my engagement ring are from Swinford Jewelers. So you guys hold a very, very special place in all of our hearts. So thank you so much for spending some time with us. All right. Our next special presentation, we have John Chamberlain here with us, with Chamberlain, Owen and Company, to present our fiscal year 2022 audit.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor. To continue a theme tonight, I'm here to present a gem of an audit report. Did you get that? Okay. Thank you. John Chamberlain. I'm a CPA and partner at Chamberlain, Owen and Company, and we're a CPA firm in Erlanger that specializes in audits of governmental entities. And we appreciate the opportunity to do the work for the city of Erlanger again this year. I'd be remiss if I didn't start off by thanking Kara and Bill and the mayor for taking such good care of us while we're here, and the city staff for taking such good care of us. We're pretty pesky, pretty annoying. We ask for a lot of stuff, and so they take good care of us and provide us with everything we need. You should have two things in front of you from me. There's a copy of the slide presentation. It's also up here on the screen, and then the financial statements themselves, and we'll go through the slide presentation first. The second slide there shows our audit opinion. It's what we call an unmodified opinion, meaning no modifications are required to be made to the opinion, and say that the financial statements are fairly presented, and that's the highest opinion that we give, and so that's what you want as a city. As a part of every governmental audit, we do a review of internal controls. We look at segregation of duties so that your risk of your highest value assets, your cash assets, your fixed assets, your reporting risks, things like that, are appropriately segregated. And we noted no instances of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in your internal controls that we would be required to report. As a part of every governmental audit, we also review compliance, and that's compliance with any KRS regulations, SERS compliance, bond and debt compliance, and no issues of non-compliance to report for the city as well. This year, the city did expend some federal funds that required a special examination requirement, slightly different than what we've done in the past, because they were the COVID relief funds. And so we did a special examination, and that tested well as well. You had about $2.6 million in federal funds that you expended under that, and then about another $2.5 million that you deferred until next year. So no issues of noncompliance there with the expenditure of federal funds. We will provide a governance letter. Kara will get that out to you if you haven't gotten that already, a governance letter to the council. We had no unplanned audit adjustments, and so that's very good. We do make one material adjustment, and it's a planned adjustment every year to gross up your SERS unfunded pension and OPEB liabilities. And so we make that adjustment annually for the city. Each year, your audit report that you have in front of you is submitted to the GFOA, with the Government Finance Officers Association, and you receive an award for excellence in financial reporting from the GFOA. So you did receive that last year in 2021. That's in your audit report, and the 2022 audit report I would expect will receive the same award. There are 3 cities in northern Kentucky where the finance director prepares the audit report instead of the auditor. 3 cities. Anybody want to take a guess what they are? Florence, Crestview Hills, and Erlanger. So be very proud of yourselves. Be very proud. You have a finance director who has the capability of preparing the financial statements herself. And the auditor, these are her financials, not mine. So I don't say that very often, and so that's something that the city of Erlanger has that most cities here in northern Kentucky and across Kentucky in general do not have. So yeah, absolutely. I'll get that later. And so I wanted to make sure you heard that, and there we go. I want to make sure you heard that from me, because that is something that is rare. We did provide a management letter to the mayor and to Kara, and we had 2 management comments in that letter. Now let's talk, this is your governmental funds. So this is your assets, total assets, unrestricted cash, and investments. You can see there the blue bar is your total assets, and that continues to increase. Your unrestricted cash position increased about $5.5 million compared to the prior year. Your investments shrunk just a little bit due to a soft market in June. Over the summer, the stocks were down just a bit. So your investment shrunk about $330,000, but you see those have maintained over the past 5 years pretty consistently. We do a rule of thumb in governmental accounting is to have at least 3 months of operating expenses on hand in cash at the end of June. 3 to 6 is really the window that we look for. 3 months for the city of Erlanger would be about $5.1 million. You have about $16.8 million in cash and another $4.2 in unrestricted investments. So, right at $21 million. That's right at 12 months operating cash on hand. So your cash position is very strong for a city this size. Your debt comparison, the yellow is your current fund liabilities. Those are normally very consistent. This year you see the current liabilities jumped just slightly, and that's because we deferred, as I mentioned earlier, we recorded as deferred revenue the governmental, the ARPA funds, the American Relief Program Act, whatever it is, ARPA. We recorded those funds as a deferred revenue, about half of them as a deferred revenue at June 30th. So that bumps that up. That just means we'll recognize those as revenue next year, okay? So it's not really a true liability like you owe money. You just owe those services that you're going to provide next year for those funds, for those grant funds. The long-term debt, that's the red. You see there, that's down to about $391,000 from $515 last year. And so that's going down as we would expect. The pink is your net pension and OPEB liabilities, pension and other post-employment benefits liabilities, the unfunded pension and OPEB liability. And you can see that decreased a little bit in '22. That's a bit of a misnomer. These are measured at June 30th, 2021. The market was going crazy. That's one of the conditions, or one of the numbers that makes up the pension liability calculation. And so the market was strong, and so that your unfunded liabilities decreased. Now, as I said earlier, the market in 2022 was down. So in 2023, we'll probably be standing back up here saying that your pension liabilities had increased, if I had to guess. So that's what that is. Total revenues, right at $24 million. This is across all governmental funds. Excess of revenues over expenditures of about $2.6 million. So it's a $2.6 million net income, if you will, for the city, compared to about a $1.1 million gain last year. This is made up primarily of federal revenues, about $2.6 million in the federal revenues that we recognized this year. Again, we get another $2.5 million next year that we'll recognize. The revenues increased right at 17.4%, and expenditures increased about 10.6%. The city has a self-imposed fund balance target of about 30% of expenditures. That would require the city to have a fund balance of about $6.5 million. The city's fund balance is right at $20.7 million, which is about 95% of your fund balance. Total revenues, again, right at $24.4 million, as I said, a 17.4% increase. Licenses and permits, by far your largest revenue at $15 million, roughly a 13.5% increase over the prior year. Taxes, and this is taxes of all type, about $4.9 million, only a 2.6% increase over the prior year. Intergovernmental revenue, obviously that's the large influx of federal funds, 126% increase right at $3.6 million. Total expenditures, right at $21.7 million, a 10.6% increase over the prior year. $6.1 million for police, a 4.5% increase. Fire and EMS, $4.8 million, a slight increase over the prior year. General government down considerably, 2.5 over the prior year. And capital outlay, a significant expense. You did a lot of road. You have quite a bit of construction in progress going on around the city. A lot of road and infrastructure work during the year. Okay. Financial statements themselves. And these are long, again, because they're in the GFOA annual consolidated financial report format. So I'm going to hit some high points here. Page 1 through 4 is the transmittal letter. That letter just has a lot of information about the city, goings on of the city, new businesses, that type of thing. You have the organizational chart and principal officials on page 5 and 6. The certificate of the GFOA Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting is on page 7. Page 9 through 13 or 12 is the independent auditor's opinion. Again, that's an unmodified opinion. Page 13 through 20 is the management's discussion and analysis. And if you're new on council, this is for you. This is a good executive summary of the financial statements. It's written a little more in the King's English as opposed to accounting speak. And so I do encourage you to at least review that. That's your homework for this week. And so review the management's discussion analysis. I know Kara puts in quite a bit of time on that. Page 21 is the statement of net position. This is a government-wide statement of net position. It includes long-term fixed assets and long-term debt and the long-term pension liabilities. And so you can see there your cash and equivalents, as I said earlier, almost $17 million, 4.2 million investments, another 3.6 million in accounts receivable, capital assets of 32 million for total assets of 58 million. The deferred outflows and inflows of resources related to pension are like a prepaid that's part of the pension calculation, so another 9.3 million there. So total assets and deferred outflow of resources right at $67.7 million. Accounts payable at June 30th, right at 1.1 million. Accrued liabilities of 545,000. You see the unearned revenue for the ARPA funds. Again, that's what we call an unearned or deferred revenue. So 2.5 million. Then your liabilities due within a year and more than a year of 214,000 for compensated absences and 391,000 for long-term debt. So you see your net pension and OPEB liability of 34.6 million. Total liabilities of 39 million. The 6 million in deferred inflows of resources, again, is like a deferral of related to the pension calculation, the surge pension calculation. So total liabilities and deferred inflow of resources total $45.7 million. Assets minus liabilities is your net position, right at $22 million. Almost 33 million invested in capital assets. Page 23 is the balance sheet. This is the current portion, a current balance sheet, so it does not include all the long-term assets and long-term liabilities. Broken down by the general fund, your capital asset, major fund, and then a summary column for all your minor funds. And then it's totaled on the right-hand side. So you can see there total assets in the balance sheet, again, right at $21 million in cash. Then total assets right at 25 million. Liabilities of about 4 million, 4.3 million. So assets minus liabilities is your fund balance, right at 20,680,000. Page 24 is a statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. This is the income statement for the city, again, broken down by the general fund, your capital improvement major fund, and then a summary column for all your minor funds, and total column on the far right. Total revenues, again, 24.4 million. Expenditures, 21.7, for an excess of expenditures or revenues over expenditures of $2.6 million. $2.3 million of transfers in and out of the various funds. So total change in fund balance, $2.6 million. Page 26 is a statement of net position for your internal service fund. The city has a health and dental fund for its employees, and you do that internally instead of having Humana or somebody providing your health insurance. You do that internally, and so this is the fund that captures those revenues and expenditures. So you can see there you have $140,000 in current assets in the health and dental fund, and that's your net position of that fund as well. Page 27 is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund net position of the Internal Service Fund. This is the income statement for that fund. And you see total operating revenues. These are revenues that come from city departments to the health and dental funds. So that's almost $1.5 million in internal revenue, and then $1.5 million in internal expenses with a net operating loss right at $6,000. So just about break even in that fund. Page 28 is the statement of cash flows for that same fund. Page 29 through 52 are the notes to the financial statements. And I'll point out just a couple notes that might be of interest to you. Page 36, note E, is your capital assets note. Shows your capital asset balances in 2021. Any additions to those balances, both assets and accumulated depreciation. Any deletions, and then a balance at June 30th, 2022. On the page just opposite, note F, you see long-term obligations for the city, and this is a breakdown of all your long-term obligation notes. Starting on page 38, note I, and going on for about 12 or 13 pages through page 50, is the note for the SERS system. And I would encourage you to read that. Page 51 is a schedule of tax abatements. These are abatements that the city provides local businesses who have set up shop here in Erlanger. Did you get one of these? I didn't get one of these. But so it's a detailed of all the organizations that are part of the Erlanger Development Growth and Employment Program. Page 53 is the budgetary comparison schedule for the general fund. This shows your original budget, any amendments to that budget, your final budget, and then an actual column that shows the actual revenues and actual expenditures. And then the fifth column over is a variance column, which will show as a positive if you have revenues that exceed budgeted revenues or expenditures that exceed budgeted expenditures. So you see there $839,000 a positive variance in revenues and $1.3 million positive variance in expenditures. So you received more than you budgeted and you expended less than you budgeted, and that's good financial fiscal management by the city manager, the mayor, and council. Page 54 is the same schedule for your major fund, your capital assets fund. Again, there, $800,000 positive variance in revenues and $2.1 million positive variance in your appropriations. Page 55, 56, 57, 58 is the required 10-year schedule for SERS, pension, and OPEB. Those are being filled in over time. Shows all the detail, how much you've contributed, percentages, that type of thing. Page 59, 60, and 61 are budgetary comparison schedule for your three minor funds of the city. Same setup as the other two. Page 62 and 63. 62 is a combining schedule of balance sheets for your minor funds, and these flow forward to the balance sheet that we presented on page 21 or 22. And then page 63 is the combining statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for your minor funds as well. Again, that flows forward to the main statement earlier that we presented. Starting on page 65 and going to page 84 is the statistical section. This gives 10-year statistics on a lot of the different activities of the city. Debt notes, debt ratios, things like that. These are all required reporting in the GFOA financial statements. And then page 85 and 86 is the required report on internal control and compliance. And again, we had no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control that we needed to report, and no issues of noncompliance. Any questions, anything that I can answer?
Thank you so much, John. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure working with you. And Kara does a phenomenal job. We're so proud of her. Very good.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Just going to give a little explanation for public comment. We are going to stick to the 3 minutes. This is a rule that we have always had. It's on the books, and in the caucus meeting, we diverted from that 3 minutes. However, we really need to focus on the rules that exist. So we're going to keep it at 3 minutes for our public comment. The first individual on the sign-in sheet is Mary Flattery. If you'd like to come to the podium, the microphone is already on.
And I'll give you a little signal when you have 1 minute left.
Okay. Good evening. I don't know if you remember me. I was here at the last meeting. I didn't think I'd be here again, hopefully. However, anybody who lives in Cherry Hill is aware of what happened yesterday. Another truck came through, hit a pole, took out one of the same poles it took out last time, took down the electricity. I do know that the last time they were saying you were looking at working with Boone County, getting signs. The signs are there. The signs don't work. I've talked to a few people that I know in other cities and areas. There are certain things they found that don't work and do work. One of the cities is Southgate. They have a problem too. One thing they found is they can't just put no truck signs. They need to specify how many axles, weight, even put on there, if you have to, put on there what ordinances it's against to make it a little more effective. They say sometimes that'll work. They're even looking at putting license plate readers in areas throughout their city because they have had the same problem with trucks going in areas where they shouldn't be going. I spoke to a woman today. Her name is Rhonda. She is the representative to the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, and she is a representative for Duke Energy. The thing is, she said, yeah, they could look at like moving poles or changing, things around, but that's not going to solve our problem. We're still going to have trucks. And as she said, if they don't catch, like I know the one that hit the pole yesterday was cited because they did catch them. I don't know if Duke is aware of that so that they can recoup their losses. But as we know with anything like that, once something like that happens, Duke has to pay for it. And we all know who ends up paying for it ultimately. Everybody in this room and everybody in Northern Kentucky. They raise our rates. So, and I'm also concerned about safety. As the one person who did talk to a national news organization, her 2 twin children were at the bus stop right where this happened, literally minutes before this truck hit the pole. So that is the thing that concerns us is I'm afraid somebody eventually is going to get hurt. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how we're going to fix it, but I don't think the whole sign thing is going to work because I don't think they're paying attention to the signs. And I don't think we're ever going to get any of these GPSs changed. So I'm still really concerned, and until we finally find an answer, I probably will be at every council meeting. I cannot make the task force meetings because unfortunately there always seems to be days when I work and I'm not home till 6 o'clock. So I'm just curious what avenues we are going down now since the ones we're taking so far are not working.
Yeah, we're well aware of the situation that happened yesterday. And like you are saying, it did come in on the Boone County side. So even our police were not dispatched to that scene. We were alerted by other avenues. The news was involved. So unfortunately, that is a Boone County thing. Again, you said that there were the signs, and I have seen the additional signage put up. I understand that this is a continuous issue, and I don't have an answer for you.
I did
to be honest with you.
I actually drove down there because I had an appointment, so I wanted to see what was going on. Here's the other thing that concerns me. I do know at the time, there were probably 2 trucks in the neighborhood at the same time when this one hit the pole, because my daughter-in-law called me, and her sister lives on Apple, and my daughter-in-law lives on Spruce Tree, and my son. And she said that her sister called her right after the power went out and said she had just seen a truck on Apple. I've never seen one on Apple, heard of one on Apple. But where this was hit and how it happened, there's no way that truck on Apple got all the way back up and hit that pole the way it hit it, because the police had them blocked up there. Because I actually talked to the Boone County deputy officer that was blocking Peachtree. So evidently there was a truck on Apple Tree the same time that truck came in at Queensway. And that's what is happening. And my daughter-in-law, last time I had told you, she had 2 trucks go down her street within 4 minutes of each other. So what's happening is somehow they're getting directed into Queensway, and they just, several of them at a time are coming down there. And I'm ready to see when we're going to have a real disaster that's going to be something that's even going to be a little more concerning than just taking out electricity. The electricity, I know, is a concern for other people in this room that have told me they work from home, so they lose their Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I have a neighbor who missed work the last time this happened, and she's a nurse. There's a lot of things that's affecting a lot of people in our city.
I understand. And I appreciate you coming up here.
Okay.
I do. I know that it's taking time out of your day to come and talk about this issue that you don't want to talk about. You want the issue to go away. And I wish that we could.
One other suggestion.
Well, we do
just
have
for-
another individual that wants
Yeah.
to talk. Okay.
Was that I had been told that possibly you could get the DOT involved, that sometimes.
We've
You did?
had
Okay.
communication, and our Public Works has exhausted many options.
Okay,
Okay.
all righty,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Deborah Wesley?
I was going to mention this during my task force report, but I'll go ahead and mention it now since it hasn't been mentioned. The other item that Boone County is working on, and I just spoke with them again yesterday about it, is installing lane dividers on at the Boone County entrances. It'll actually be on Donaldson and Mineola. At Mineola and Queensway. Is that right, Peter? Okay. Sorry. Peter and I have talked about this, and I couldn't remember exactly where the intersections were. Lane dividers are, I'm trying to think of where they exist right now. Some exist on Houston Road, where you see them. They're basically just white sticks that stick up. And the hope is that they will basically warn the trucks, don't turn here. So those have been ordered. We have no idea when they'll, we're not responsible for putting them in. This is all Boone County. But this was as a result of contacting them and asking them for some additional preventative measures that they could install. So those have been ordered. Again, with supply chain issues, we have no idea when they'll come in, but they did give me an indication that they would be top of their priority to install once they were received. So I realize that that's not immediate, but they do have to be ordered and installed. So bear with them.
Hi, I'm Deborah Wesley, back again. Thanks for having me. Same thing in Cherry Hill, woke up, no electric. And I dare say if you guys had to wake up 3 times, 3 different days without heat in your house in November and December, that you would be frustrated and want to make something happen too. My house was like in the 50s when I woke up, and it was my off day. So I couldn't get anything done on the internet. I have a senior in the house. It's just getting old. And I dare say that most people in the neighborhood don't know what's causing this. Because at first I just thought it was like I didn't know what it was, but I didn't know that it was trucks hitting things, that it's something that we could do. Those line things, they put those back on Houston and people ran over them. So I'm not sure that that's going to be the solution. And I came in from work today in Mineola, the back way into Mary Queen of Heaven, what was Mary Queen of Heaven, there's no trucks. I didn't see a no truck sign. So when they turn in off of Mineola, if they don't turn in off of Donaldson and they come in off the highway, there's no sign there that says no trucks. And there's no sign when you turn left to go in the neighborhood that says no trucks that I saw. So it must, maybe putting a big thing that says fine $500, $1,000, do not come in, that might stop them. I don't know. Let's see, the other thing, there's a couple other things real quick is, I'm disappointed that the task force that we have for Cherry Hill can only be on Thursday nights. I
didn't
talked
say
to
that. I
her
told her
and
that's another thing that meet- sometime we can
she
meet right
can't
now.
change it.
It's on?
Yeah, I just talked to her before the meeting and she can't change it. So I wish it could be changed to a different date. The third thing is we had new sidewalks put in. That could have been the trucks that were coming in down on Fir Tree. They're lovely, but doing it in Thanksgiving when it's 9 degrees and the seniors that live at the Circle have to park their car all the way down here and walk to their house was kind of not a good forethought in my opinion. And so then the other good things are the DAV thing was wonderful, the Thanksgiving. Thanks for doing that for the seniors, and the decorations look great. So thanks for all the activities you're doing.
Thank you. I like how you coupled some criticisms with
I
some
tried to.
positive. That was a nice touch. It's
It
appreciated.
helps. I know, I get that at the library. You know, it's good to have good and bad
That was
together.
nice.
I used to teach too.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. That concludes public comment. Next on the agenda is the mayor's report. Just a few things. So this month, our caucus meeting would fall on December 20th. I am asking for you all to formally cancel the meeting. It's in our ordinance that, make a motion? Motion. Reckers, nicely. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. End of discussion. All right. Love the efficiency. Thank you. All right. The last thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to thank, this is our last time getting together as a council of 9 and mayor. So, 12. Sorry. I'm thinking too far ahead. Yeah, our last time is 12. So we have 4 outgoing council members, 3 of which are here tonight. So Gary Meyer and Ryan Elmore and Steve Doan. And Steve Nipper is also leaving us. So I want to thank them for their service. And thank you so much for the time and the effort and the dedication that you give into our city. I mean, Steve just jumping in here at the 9th hour. So thank you. You've done phenomenal. Gary, you're amazing. You will be missed terribly. As your questions and your comments and your concerns always drive us to do more research and to understand something on a far greater level than anybody can ask. So thank you for always pushing us. Ryan, you will be terribly missed. You're a ray of sunshine. You are a calm presence. You are a motivated, driven individual that has a passion for public service, and you see it in your library at Miles Elementary. You see it in your children and your activities with Cub Scouts and all your activities with Gabe. You are a role model, and I know that you are not done, and you'll be back in some phenomenal way. So thank you. Thank you all for your participation. I also want to congratulate Steve Doan as our newest representative for the 69th District. And we are so blessed to have your voice down in Frankfurt Being an Erlanger resident, being a part of this council gave you a perspective that is so critical, and you'll be able to bring that perspective down to Frankfurt and advocate for us and for our needs because you understand them on a new level. And I am so proud of you and so happy that you are going to be there to represent us. So thank you. One other thing, because we're going down to 9 members, we do have one new member. Her name is Renee Wilson, and she's not here right now, but we are going to welcome her with open arms. We're so excited to have her joining our team. We can't wait to hear her perspective and her experience in life and what her motivations are and what sets her on fire. So we're very excited. So looking forward to starting something special and new in January. So thanks, guys. All right, Mr. Wolfeck, City Administrator's Report.
Just a couple things to report. The city offices will be closed for Christmas and New Year's. They'll close on Christmas. They'll close on Friday, December 23rd, and Monday, December 26th, and then again on Monday, January 2nd for New Year's. This will not affect any of the trash pickup within the city.
Thanks, Bill. Mr. Gatlin?
Mayor, I have a couple items. First, we were just informed of a possible agenda item that I'd like to add, and I know I don't normally like to do this, but this one is pretty innocuous. Kentucky Deferred Compensation, which is the supplement retirement for people in the city. They do 401k and 457 plans. They are requiring a new joinder agreement. I'll be honest, I was just handed this and I've been reading this 3-page joinder agreement. I don't really know what it's different from the old joinder agreement. My concern is they might want this passed before the end of the year. I don't want to do anything that infringes upon the supplemental retirement plans of the city. So there is a 1-page resolution where they are asking the city of Erlanger to pass this amended joinder agreement. Again, this is a program the city of Erlanger has had for years, and for whatever reason, there is a new joinder agreement that they want signed tonight. So if I could have a motion to add it to the agenda.
Oh, you making a motion? Okay.
All right.
Ms. Nicely, are you seconding? Yes. Okay, any discussion?
Yep.
Mr. Meyer?
Of course, I'm going to have a discussion. Can we get copies of that and passed around so we can read that while we're...
Absolutely.
before
Like
we
I
can-
said, I literally was just made aware of it at 6:59.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. We just need what we're actually passing tonight, which is right here. And I don't even know if it has to be done, but I'm just thinking because it's a tax issue and a retirement issue, in an abundance of caution, I don't want to find out we should have done it this year and come back for a caucus meeting just to do that. So that would be item number 8. And I also am going to miss the 3 council members. I don't have as many pleasant things as the mayor has to say. But I do think that you all 3 will be missed in many ways. I know that as an attorney, I get a lot of questions from a lot of council members, and I will say that I interacted with Ryan, Steve, and Gary, as much as any council member. So I think that's always a sign of a very interactive council. And Gary, I think you and I came into the city the same year, and you'll be back, I'm sure. But it was nice working with all 3 of you all, and I wish you all 3 good luck in your future endeavors. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, and Mr. Wolfeck went to make copies of that resolution, so you all have that in just a second. All right, Mr. Glenn, do you have anything to report on capital projects?
Okay, thank you. Just got a couple things to report on tonight. So capital projects that we have going on right now, we're finishing up the construction drawings for Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Cahill Commons. And then we'll be looking forward to bidding Phase 1 construction here in the spring, and with a spring construction season finishing by the end of June. Sidewalk projects, as previously mentioned, we are complete on Red Bud and Fir Tree for the season, and we'll be back in the spring to wrap up the work on Fir Tree. Kappa and Sigma are complete, and we'll be coming back in the spring again and working on Theta Court. Work is now ongoing and will continue through as weather permits on Jacqueline. We're doing sidewalk, it's going to be concrete work, sidewalks and drive apron repairs. Underpass painting. So right now we're still getting the right of way, it's called a right of entry permit from the railroad. And we're working with our contractor's insurance company. So apparently we need to submit the insurance at the beginning of the year, because if we submit it right now, it'll get approved and then it'll run out at the end of the year. So it will only be good for a few weeks. So we're submitting that the 1st of January. But that should be one of the last hurdles we have prior to setting our pre-construction meeting. Once that happens, then we'll move straight to getting our KDOT permit that we've already submitted for. The last thing I have is we are wrapping up this week our leaf collection program. So that is where we annually go from mid-October through December. We visit every street in Erlanger 4 times, and we'll be finishing that up on the 9th. Any questions?
Unrelated to the projects that you mentioned, do we have we heard anything from KDOT regarding the Houston North
Not yet.
plan
So
bids, anything to that regard?
I have not got any word back yet, so I'm hoping to get an answer before the 15th. Is that, the 15th is the next meeting? Do we have another? I'm sorry, I jumped.
Sorry, I wasn't thinking Cherry Hill. I was reading the joinder agreement, sorry. Yes, it's the 15th.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to have something from them by then. All right, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other reports from department heads? Sherry?
So this month, we are recognizing former employee Tim Beedham. Tim loved Erlanger, and he served our community for 15 years. And you can learn more about Tim and his contributions on our website under the Friendship Garden wall. And also, Erlanger, we're participating in Kenton County Solid Waste Division's Holiday Light Recycling Program. So from December 1st through February 1st, residents can drop off their holiday lights. It can be traditional or LED lights. There is a box in the front lobby where you can just drop them off at. That's all I have.
Thank you, Sherry. Emmy?
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to provide an update on the Circle Port IRB discussions that we had after last meeting. You did have that item on your agenda for this evening, but Corporex has officially asked for that to be tabled. We have had some additional discussions with the school districts, and they're requesting a few changes to the development agreement. And so we just need a little bit more time to work through those details to provide you with a final development agreement that's acceptable to all parties. So we hope to be able to bring that to you as soon as possible for your consideration. Just a couple of other economic development updates while I'm here. Wanted to let everyone know that the gym that is set to open in 333 Kenton Lands Road called Rock the Spectrum will be having their grand opening this Saturday. So if anybody's interested in taking a look at that business, they'll be open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and they're offering an open play for children for that grand opening celebration. Also want to recognize that Garzelli's Pub and Pizza received a small business grant this month to construct a fence around their outdoor patio in the rear, so that'll be a great addition for people to enjoy that patio this coming season. And then also want to thank Strike and Spare Family Fun Center for completing some parking lot improvements that include ceiling, new striping, and also some new LED lighting in the parking lot. So that also looks terrific. And I'm also happy to announce that we received our first grant request for the demo grant, and that has been approved. So we received a request from the husband and wife that own the properties at 4120 and 4122 Dixie Highway. This was formerly a karate dojo kind of compound there at the corner. The couple will be demoing the building at 4120, which is a blighted white building. That will be demoed to make way for reutilization of the rear commercial building that still exists on that property so that they can provide parking out front and a more visible space there in front of that commercial building to be utilized. The couple is living in the brick house that is on the corner at 4122 and will remain in that building while they work on their business development. Yes, Mr. Meyer.
Mr. Kim would be very upset if I did not correct you. It is not a karate. It was not a karate dojo. It is a taekwondo dojang.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. I stand corrected. Any questions?
You're getting your money's worth out of this last meeting, Mr. Meyer. I mean,
That was
you
the
kind
most
of went
Gary
AWOL
Meyer
for about a
thing.
month on us, and now you're back for one last final reminder.
That was the most Gary Meyer thing you've ever done. All right.
With that, would it be an appropriate time to go ahead and table item number 6 in legislation? So I'll move that we table that item per Emmy's request.
Okay, we have and Tom, you second that motion? Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right, any other department heads with reports? Okay, any task forces with reports? Ms. Jasper-Lucas?
Excuse me. I got off track when I was trying to read this agreement. I already shared a little bit that I was going to share during my task force report, but a couple things I do want to clarify. What I had said previously about the task force not being able to be changed was that it had already been scheduled, and it can't be scheduled at a time when we already have another task force meeting scheduled. So we try to work around as many schedules as possible, but we can't have 2 task force meetings at the same time that are competing because some of the same people need to attend those meetings. So that was actually what I had said previously to the resident, not that we can't do it on a different day, but we can't change the upcoming meeting that is already scheduled for December 15th at 5 o'clock. The other thing I'll mention, because I already mentioned the lane dividers that Boone County said they were working on, they are also working on additional signage. I'm not sure that has actually been installed yet. So I know some folks said there are already some signs there. The additional signage, I don't believe has actually been installed. So I don't have anything else to report that hasn't already been reported. The only other thing I'll mention is that if there's residents who are interested in the minutes from the past meeting, it's actually the very first thing on our website if you go to the City of Erlanger's website. It's within the meeting notice for the upcoming task force meeting. That's it.
What was the date of that meeting again?
Sorry, it's December 15th at 5 o'clock, and it was included in Sherry's, there was a link to it within Sherry's council packet, along with the minutes from the last meeting. And those are also on the website.
Yeah. Okay. Any other task forces? Ms. Skidmore?
Kenton County Alliance met today at the library. They met at 12 o'clock. I'm sorry, they met from 11:30 to 1:30, and they took the whole 2 hours, and they basically just summarized all the things that we've been doing, trying to get the drugs under control, vaping, all of that. So they're diligently working on it, and the meeting is usually the first Tuesday of the month at the library, 11:30 to 1:30. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. We have 2 bids on the agenda for this evening. The first is the Crescent Avenue Concrete Project. Mr. Glenn.
Okay, back again. Crescent Avenue Street Improvement Project. So what this is, quick overview, is we're going to be doing concrete replacement and sidewalk improvements from Kentlands Road along Crescent up to the entrance to the park. We're having a great deal of difficulty with tractor trailers in that area, running up the area behind the curb. So we were looking to make some improvements, and the street is in pretty poor shape. So what we're going to do is new street for that small little section with a widened sidewalk cross section and a thickened sidewalk. So that way when the tractor trailers leave the pavement and they go up on the sidewalk, it'll be designed to take the load. So, kudos to Jim Viox and his staff. They've been great on this project with all the different design criteria that we've kind of gone through. And it's going to be a really nice little project. We received 5 bids, the low bid of which was TMS Construction at $141,185,000. And that is within the budget amount we had for this project, so we're going to proceed forward. Any questions on that? All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, surplus property. Taking the... Oh, Sherry.
So I wanted to report on the 4 vehicles that were declared surplus last month. They were placed on govdeals.com, and the auction ended last Friday. One of the Nitros was sold for $4,150, and it was picked up today. The other Nitro, we received $4,650, and the pickup has been scheduled already. One of the Chargers is pending. We're waiting to hear from the highest bidder on whether they're going to move forward with it, and tomorrow's the deadline. And the other Charger, the bidder declined. So I know that Rachel reached out to the police department today to see how they wanted to move forward with it. And there's several options, so we can get with the police department and see what they want to do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have any unfinished business? Any new business? Mr. Hermes?
Mayor, I would just like to ask that if we could put something on the January caucus for discussion, and that would be the capital fund, the $5 million capital fund from unreserved. Just trying to put a little bit more detail and maybe even some rules or conditions on that money.
Okay, we'll go ahead and put that on the agenda for the caucus meeting. Ms. Reckers?
On unreserved? Are you looking to add an additional 5?
No, the money that was taken from the unreserved and put into the made it
So
into
I
a
got really
capital fund.
excited thinking you wanted to move $5 more million to reserved funds.
No.
Sorry. Thanks.
Any other new business? Ms. Jasper Lucas?
It's not new business. I just want to make, since Mr. Hermes brought up the caucus meeting for January, I know we talked about putting Flagship Park on there. I don't know if I need to make a formal request to do that or not. I
think we have it.
I know that's what we talked about, so.
Thanks.
Okay, just making sure.
Legislation? Mr. Gatlin?
All right, first we have, this is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, determining the standards for noise pollution and assessing penalties and fines. We're defining what noise pollution is. We're discussing what the unlawful conduct is, and the penalty is a fine of not less than $50, nor more than $500. This is the second reading.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this ordinance as read? Ms. Jasper Lucas? Ms. Reckers? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Elmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skidmore? Mr. Hermes?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Doan?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Nicely?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Reckers?
Yes, ma'am.
Motion carried.
All right, now we have a series of housekeeping municipal orders. Next, we have a municipal order of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, approving the appointment of Bob Whelan as a member of the Board of Adjustments for the City of Erlanger. This appointment will run through January of 2027.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read? Ms. Reckers, Ms. Jasper Lucas, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, next we have a municipal order of the City Council of the City of Erlanger, Kenton County, Kentucky, approving the reappointment of Irene Mischie and Mike Stubblefield as members of the Code Enforcement Board for the City of Erlanger. Irene's term and Mike's term will run through December 31st of 2025.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read? Ms. Elmore, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Next, we have a municipal order of the City Council of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, approving the reappointment of Mayor Jessica Fetty as the representative of the city to the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Regional Council of Governments effective January 1st, 2023. That is a one-year term.
Do I entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read? Mr. Doan, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Next, we have a municipal order of the City Council of the City of Erlanger, Kenton County, Kentucky, approving the reappointment of Mayor Jessica Fetty as a representative of the city to the North Kentucky Planning and Development Services, and the reappointment of Councilmember Tyson Hermes as the alternate effective January 1st, 2023. This also is a one-year term.
Do I entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read? Ms. Elmore, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Next is a resolution of the City of Erlanger, Kenton County, Kentucky, abolishing the local appeals board and transferring those services to the Kenton County Joint Building Appeals Board. We discussed this because the permitting process and inspection process is now through PDS. It makes most sense for them to handle the Kenton County, handle all of the appeals through their Kenton County Joint Building Appeals Board. That does not impact the local code enforcement board. That still will be here in Erlanger. This is just for the appeals board that hears appeals of issues of the building inspector.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this resolution as read? Ms. Reckers, Ms. Jasper Lucas, any discussion? All in favor, oh, Mr. Hermes?
Is that the board that hasn't met for like 20 years?
It is.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Are there any announcements this evening?
No, we had the add-on.
Oh, the add-on.
We had the add-on. And again, I apologize. I'm not sure how this one slipped through the cracks. And it's probably me in an abundance of caution that wants to do this tonight, just because I'm assuming the state might want this before the end of the year. So the resolution would be for the City of Erlanger, a governmental unit of the Commonwealth of Kentucky hereby enters and adopts the joinder agreement with KDC for participation in the 457 plan and the 401k plan for the benefit of its eligible employees. And these are programs the City of Erlanger already is in. We do. We did already. We did during my attorney's report. Yep.
All right, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this resolution as read? Ms. Reckers, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? Oh,
How do we know if this is different than the other one? I mean, I'm not asking like a stupid question. Like,
It's not a stupid question. I
I'm
don't know
just,
the
if you
answer.
can say
I
this
don't-
isn't different,
I don't know the answer.
Okay.
Because I have not looked at the prior one.
Okay.
I will tell you that if you look at this document.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the prior one says this, it kind of automatically passes unless we object in writing after 90 days. But that would be an Ed Bailey question. I'm not sure anyone up here is familiar with the current joinder program. And I know that's the wrong answer.
I mean, it's an honest answer. I would rather
mean,
you be honest.
I don't know. But again, where I said I just became aware of this like 5 minutes before the meeting, and I just didn't want to do anything that jeopardized any employees' supplemental retirement. So, yeah, it's what we in the industry call an adhesion contract, meaning we probably have no choice but to do this, would be my guess.
any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, any announcements? All right, do I entertain a motion that we adjourn? Ms. Reckers, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Have a good evening.